Welcome back to the Done Deal Show, brought to you by Caddy Comps. Get signed up now. Just as man like Jimmy Bullard said, you can win prizes, you can win Range Rovers, you can win golf equipment every single day, and you can enter for as little as 79p. There's also some giveaways that are free as well. So scan that QR code in the bottom corner or click the link in our description or pin to the live chat and check it out now. Quite a few stories to talk about this morning, as the transfer window is a little bit of a quiet period in terms of some of the major deals that we expected to be done already. So in Bournemouth, as an example, was a deal we expected. You're looking at Arsenal, and the striker market has gone quiet. However, a lot of conversations are now taking place and now happening. I want to make sure I say this in the right way. Around potential new deals, clubs now going out and making inroads into different players. And we're going to be taking a look at that this morning. We are going to be looking at Arsenal in their pursuit of a new superstar. We're going to be looking at Manchester United and looking at a goalkeeper who's very well coveted, highly rated, has a name that I'm going to butcher in Carnesecchi, young Italian goalkeeper playing for Atalanta. We're looking at Tottenham and Semenyo, and is that price too high? Should they reassess, etc.? We're talking Maignan as well. Fabrizio's updated on this. Chelsea getting a lot of stick for the situation with Maignan, and I actually think that's a little bit. I feel like the conversation regarding. I sort of feel the conversation regarding Maignan is a little bit forced. I think is a little bit over the top. I think the criticism of Chelsea is too much on that. But we're delving into all of that. We're taking your calls later on the show. And I also want to thank everyone who stuck with me over the last couple of weeks. I had terrible laryngitis. It's almost better. My voice feels like it's returning to normal. So thank you. And I didn't have the same energy and enthusiasm in my voice on every show. But I had to really try and preserve. And even now, when I put too much oomph in, I can still feel it. But just got to try and reserve my voice as best as I can. But as I say, people, get like buttons hit right now if you haven't done so already, because that's important to the Football Terrace that you do it. Make sure you are subscribing to the channel as well. And there's a little bell notification button that's really, really important for you guys to hit. So if you could get that done for us, it would be amazing. Thank you all very, very much indeed. Let's go to some of your comments early on here. What was that? Big up to yourself, T. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mustafa. Doing my best. Just, do you know what it is? There was no real treatment for it. There's lots of, like, I'm drinking warm tea, but like really milky for it, and just trying. I was having to gargle aspirin like I've actually done it for a couple of days now. I probably should. What doesn't help is I think I'm developing hay fever as I've got older. So that made my throat scratchier, if that made sense. You got to have the aircon on in the car because it's too hot to not have it. But the aircon dries the throat out. It was like a horrible little cycle, but getting much better now. Thank you. Hopefully this upcoming week we put in the second bid for Bournemouth. Well, Man United have been working Mustafa on that tirelessly. And we'll start with Manchester United on the show this morning. And I wanted to start with some interesting news from Damasio. Now, Manchester United, as we all know, are looking for a new goalkeeper. As I've said many, many a time on the terrace, I don't believe for a single second that United haven't made their mind up about Onana. I believe that is public PR. That is to maintain the stance via the media that we're not necessarily going to sell him, that he's part of the plan, that we rate him, that we think he's a good player, and all that nonsense. Now, for me, I think we're well in the market for a new goalkeeper. We saw the links to the Torino goalkeeper, who's now Milinkovic-Savic or Milinkovic? I think it's Milinkovic-Savic, his full name. We've seen the links to him. There's obviously Jean Garcia, who's now at Barcelona. We've made contact with and talking to Emi Martinez's camp. But what was a really interesting update yesterday from Damasio? He says that this is Sky Sports Italia journalist Gianluca Damasio. It says here that Manchester United have made contact with the agents of Marco Carnesecchi. I think that's how it's pronounced. If I butchered that name, I'm sorry. About a potential move to Man United this summer. So the Red Devils are looking to rebuild their squad for manager Ruben Amorim after a terrible 24-25 campaign. United have already moved to strengthen their attack, with Cunha being agreed and Mbeumo being close. And now they are open to a move for a new goalkeeper and the question marks over the future of Andre Onana. It says here that according to Damasio, United are considering allowing the current number one Onana to leave the club after a poor season. It says here that the Ligue 1 side Monaco is said to be showing concrete interest in him. Now, that's obviously been shut down a little bit by Fabrizio saying there's no club-to-club talks. But I don't think it's been shut down that there's a potential of a move there. Says United have identified the Atalanta star, Carnesecchi, as their top candidate to replace him should he leave. That's the only contrasting piece of information here, is that some places are saying I mean, Martinez is the number one choice. This is now being claimed that Carnesecchi is. Now, I know nothing about this, but I knew nothing about him until I read this story this morning. I got up. It's a beautiful hot day, sat in the garden, not with a newspaper, but with my laptop, just had a cup of tea, had some music on, was reading. And what I've read about Carnesecchi is there's a lot of talent in the 24-year-old. And he is described on many a scouting report as one of the most promising young goalkeepers around. So I'm intrigued by it. I think what's more important to me as a Man United fan is that there seems to be a lot of active work by my club at the moment publicly to try our absolute best to bring a new goalkeeper in. And I was thinking back to what Staffy said on Straight Facts on Friday, and I understand where he's coming from. I get his view that if we don't address the midfield and make it more pressure resistant, more physical, faster, raise that technical floor, United are still going to struggle in certain games. He's right. I do see it from the other side, though, when it comes to we can only address, and I think we will look at midfield. But I think what Man United are looking to address, looking at the order of which we're trying to sign players, is we're trying to add more goals, because what scoring more goals will enable us to do is paper over cracks. Now, I know the knee-jerk reaction is to go, but I don't want to paper over cracks. But that's going to be the situation for 3 years, because it's going to take 3 years to completely build this squad. And that is if we have a 60 to 70 or 80% success rate with signings. So you are going to have to paper over cracks until that squad build is complete. And I think the way United look at it is this: we could go out now and spend all our budget and make us have the best midfield in the world. But Onana's still going to cost us 5 to 10 games a season, and our strikers and our attackers are still going to struggle to score goals. So you could control the games better, but if you can't score goals and you're leaking silly ones at the back because your goalkeeper's poor, you may not see the improvements in terms of results. And we know at Man United, it isn't just how you play for the majority, it's results as well. So I think we're doing the right thing. I'd love to be able to address all of it, but that's impossible to fix all those areas. Let's go after a new goalkeeper. Let's do our best to stop 5 to 10 games a season being lost. And people can look at the stats and go, oh, but he only had 4 errors leading to goals. This goal, he had 3. That doesn't include shots where he dived the wrong way. That doesn't include, you know, when the ball gets crossed in and he mistimes it and stutters, and then the ball goes in at the far post. That isn't considered an error leading to a goal. Errors leading to goals are only if a goalkeeper fumbles something that he shouldn't. It's simple to pick it up, or if he misplaces a pass at the back. What it doesn't show you is all the saves that he doesn't make that are relatively easy. There isn't a stat for that, as far as I'm aware. If someone knows what they are, show them to me. So we need to improve on that. I'm liking the goalkeepers that we're linked to. As I say, I don't know much about Carnesecchi. I can only go by what I've read. And I went and looked at some scouting reports from about 12 months ago. Really positive things being said about this young man. So for me, I'm glad we're looking to address this area. I think it flies in the face of the view that United are going to stick with Onana. I think that's a crazy take. I think there's no validity in that. I think there's no truth to it whatsoever. But as look, I want to know what you all think. I want to know what you feel about this potential Atalanta. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I agree. Yeah. I absolutely agree. It would that element's funny. Yes, hit the like button, people. Let's get that done right now. If you haven't done so already, that would be amazing. Let me just timestamp this here. Right, there we go. Let's do some of your comments that are coming in here. Midfield is the most important on the pitch, and I understand that, and I get where you're coming from. So there is an argument which holds water: build the midfield first, and then grow around it. My concern with that is you can have a world-class midfield and still not win games, because if you don't have the strikers and the wide players to finish, and if you have goalkeepers and or defenders committing footballing suicide at the back, you're still going to lose a lot of games. Because in fact, and this is where when Staffy says what he says, it flies in the face of the stats that he was sharing with me a few weeks back, that actually the amount of attempts we concede on goal was quite low and entries into our box. And the amount of work the great things we do at getting the ball to the edge of the opponent's box, but then don't create or finish the chances. I'm going off of what Staffy sent to me originally, and I'm thinking, right, we probably will buy a midfielder this summer, by the way. We probably will buy a midfielder. But I really want us to add more goals and creativity and someone at the back that doesn't throw the ball in the net. You know, there's so many games last year, Nottingham Forest, Brighton, like two that stand out to me in the Premier League, where we're well in that game. In fact, the Forest game, we're on top. And we just conceded inconceivably poor goals. You know, and I just think he cost us about 15 points last year. You add those 15 points back in, there's less pressure going into this season, irrespective of the midfield. And that, for me, is why, although midfield is the most important part of a team, we've got a decent midfield. What we have a horrendous goalkeeper and an horrendous front line. We have to fix it first. And I totally get where you're coming from, but we've got to fix that first. We really, really do. Terry, you always give examples like building houses. Why would we not build the foundation first? Really good point. So you've got to look at it from this perspective. Man United can't, sometimes when you do your house up, you might build an extension, you might move out. Therefore, you can not worry too much. If you're knocking 80% of it down, you can go straight to working on the most core important part. But let's say you've got to stay living in the house whilst you're rebuilding it. You may have to create sorts of temporary structures. You may have to create temporary support measures so that you can therefore in future address the root cause change, the foundational changes that once the rebuild of your house is complete, it stays up and doesn't crumble. What you might have to do is build a temporary structure so that you can house parts of, it could be, you might have to house certain parts of your house there because the roof's coming off. And if the roof comes off and it rains, your whole house is going to get ruined. And that's what United have got to do. We have almost got to build some temporary measures to fill some holes, to win us some games whilst we're rebuilding other areas of the team. It's so important for us. But it's a really good challenge. We have next summer to focus on the midfield as we can replace Casemiro and Bruno if we sell them. I hear you on that. United need a lot of things. Midfield aren't the priorities this year. I agree, Craig. And this is the one thing I would say to a lot of United fans out there, and they're pushing this notion a lot. Oh, we need to do so many things. Yes, but we should have all come to the consensus and agreement that it's going to take 3 years to fix everything if we do a very good job in every window. So there's always going to be areas at the end of the summer that weren't fixed. We can't just moan about them. We have to understand the situation that we're in. Moving on from this Manchester United chat, I want to speak a little bit about a story I saw today about Arsenal. It was a very interesting conversation as well. So according to a number of different websites, both in France and in the UK, and Give Me Sport have published this, saying that Arsenal are keeping close tabs on the Paris Saint-Germain midfielder Warren Zaïre-Emery. It says the Gunners finished second last season, blah, blah. You don't need to write about any of that part of the story. It says here that reports and sources say that Arsenal have made contact with PSG about the availability of Warren Zaïre-Emery. It says the 19-year-old has spent his entire career to date in Paris, being a product of the PSG Youth Academy, debuting in 2022. Zaïre-Emery is currently earning £185,000 per week and quickly become a key part of the club's first team. It says in the second half of the most recent campaign, however, Zaïre-Emery saw minutes limited, sparking rumours that a potential departure could happen. Arsenal, despite signing Zubimendi, are in need of further midfield depth given Jorginho has left and Thomas Partey's future remains unclear. It says at this point, PSG have stated they have no interest in letting Zaire Emery go, a player to which they call a superstar. Now, what I think is really interesting about this link is this is what you're going to get from certain demographics of Arsenal fans, and I bet they're already in our comment section. They're entitled to say this. It will be, what's the point of chasing him? We're probably not going to get him. However, if Arsenal were doing groundwork and making contact with midfielders not of that level, what you would hear is, why aren't we going for the bigger players? In fact, we had like Aussie Gooner came on yesterday. We had a number of Gooners phone in Friday and Saturday onto this show who all said the same thing. Go out there and try and take some of the best players away from some of the best teams. I don't want to hear any of the people saying that moaning that Arsenal are trying to get Zaire Emery. Yes, he's only 19, but I think he would be such an amazing profile for Arsenal with Jorginho and Partey leaving. This is the type of signing they should be going after, because Zubimendi and Declan Rice are going to be the main two midfielders covering 8 and 6 roles next year. But I actually think there's an opportunity here with Zaire Emery to get into his ear, to make contact with his agent and say, look, I know PSG are regarded the best team in the world right now, and there is, on the surface, there is no need to leave them. You're going to win the league every year in France. You've just won the Champions League. You're the favourites to win the Club World Cup, even though they lost their last game. And Zaire Emery is an important part of that squad. However, he's not one of the main 3 midfield players. And their midfield they're not babies at PSG. Neves is quite young. Vitinha and Fabian Ruiz, though, are not babies, but they're not old men either. So what Arsenal may be able to offer him is more first-team minutes, more of a starting berth and starting role within the Arsenal team. And this is certainly something that Arsenal should be exploring. I think Arsenal fans will be made up by them trying to get this type of player. Because this is exactly what they were all talking about. This is what they were all talking about over the last 2 days on this show. So I read this story. I wanted to present it to the community here because this is the type of link that Arsenal fans want to see. They want their club to go after a star name at a big club who comes in and helps move the needle. Marc here says, if he's their superstar, why is he not getting minutes then? Well, this is exactly the same, but in reverse as to why when Man United fans stress out and give themselves a wedgie by saying, can't believe we think Rasmus can turn his career around. Can't believe we're saying Onana's part of the plans. Sort of public perception. I actually don't think PSG have zero desire to sell him. I think PSG, if the right offer was made, would maybe consider it. One, they have a conveyor belt of talent coming through, so I don't know if he'd be overly difficult to replace from their academy, but that's a guess because I don't know who's in it. They have an abundance of money, so they could always go into the transfer market and attract players. He wouldn't be an easy player to get away, though, Marc, because although he may not be one of the starting midfielders at the minute, he does start a number of games because rotation is key, and he gets minutes in most matches. That being said, I think in the league this year, he only played around, I think he played around 2,000 minutes or so. And if you kind of divide that by 90 minutes in terms of the game, it's not too bad. It's like 22 games that he played, which is just over half the matches, as an example. So there's a way in there. And I think listen, if Arsenal were going to lose Thomas Partey, this would be a move that I think would, and I can only give my opinion on this, if Arsenal were to turn around and do this and get it over the line, it would be the type of move that I think every single Arsenal fan in the world would say, do you know what? I can't complain about this. Do you know what? I can't have a pop at my football club. Partey leaves, it's gutting, but Warren Zaire-Emery is exactly the level of player that Arsenal need to look at. You know, bring him in, already got Zubimendi, go and get that left-sided attacker, bring in Gyökeres, fantastic summer. You're also, to a degree, you can't quite match what Liverpool have done because there isn't another Wirtz, like, as an example, and maybe a player like Wirtz is needed at Arsenal. However, you're going out there and you're going ban for ban. You're going stride for stride, blow for blow, okay, you're bringing in more firepower. We've added more firepower. And this is me talking like I'm an Arsenal fan for anyone trying to clip me up. You're amoebas. You signed this type of player. We've got 2 of these types of players. Your midfield was great last year. We've added to ours. I think that's what Arsenal need to do. For me, these are the kind of moves that Arsenal need to make, no doubt about it whatsoever. This is facts. Arsenal fans say we should sign Isak. We get linked to him, and the same fans will say Isak won't go to Arsenal. But this is why I get confused about some of the angry Arsenal fans. It isn't that they're angry. It isn't that they want higher standards. I can accept that. It's the logic doesn't always make sense, Carl. You'll hear, we need to go after superstars. Arsenal today in the media are linked with trying to get Rodrigo. We're never getting in. What's the point? So what do you want? Your club to be linked to the players 2 or 3 levels down the ladder? Because I'm sure if you were linked to them, you'd say, not good enough. We need winners that have been at the top of the game. So it's almost like whatever the Arsenal story is, a particular demographic of Arsenal fan will be angry. And we see that quite a lot here. Here we go. Kwanzaa to Barcelona. Elijah, don't make me sick, man. This is money laundering, bruv. I've got to say, like, I say it with all due respect, and I don't say it in a horrible way to Liverpool. They're just fantastic at this kind of business, aren't they? Absolutely fantastic. Bring me Barcola, Rodrigo hype. These modern day Brazilians aren't it. Liverpool absolutely dominating this transfer window. Hate it as a United fan. I agree. But you know how they've got to that point, my bro? They've got to it by doing the things that United fans are moaning about us doing this summer. Being prudent, being diligent, taking our time, and not being striped up on prices. If we just panicked and keep bending over, go, yes, sir, no, sir. Oh, yeah, 3 bags full, sir. Thank you, boss. All that's going to happen, you'll never have summers like this, ever. If we get rid of Sanchez and Jacko and we don't sign anyone, I'm fine with that. Matty, hope you're good. This brings us nicely. We're going to take calls in a minute. So if you're an Arsenal fan, United fan, you want to phone in and speak about these stories, please do that. I want to give a shout out, by the way, to our title sponsors on the show today, Caddy Comps. The link's in our description below, and it's such a cool, such a great website. I've recently taken up golf, so it was amazing to partner with them. And they have these giveaways. You can see here, this Sandstorm driver is being given away. It's free to enter. But there's all these other prize giveaways where thousands of prizes, hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of golf equipment, from golf bags, drivers, pitching woods, putters, balls, all types of accessories you need are available. There's even a competition. 5 days this goes out to win a Range Rover Sport plus mega bundles, and there's Airbnb prizes. There's loads of great things. So there's 2 sides to this. If you play golf, this is amazing. The motorized caddy is what I want. I really want this. There's watches. There's all types of things you can see available. You can enter very, very cheaply indeed. But say you're not a golfer, still get involved. You win some of these. Some of these golf clubs are like hundreds of pounds each. Some of these prizes are worth thousands. So if you win them, I want to win them because I'm learning to play golf. But if I win them more than once, I'm selling them and making myself some Benjamins. So go and check out Caddy Comps now. It's the UK's biggest golf giveaway. There's a link in our description or the live chat. You can scan that QR code that's on my screen now as well. So go and get that done. Support the Football Terrace by helping us out. Just go and sign up. Go have a little entry. And that, again, that'd be amazing if you could. I want to move on and talk a little bit about Chelsea. And I want to move on and talk about Chelsea because I feel like Chelsea are being a little bit disrespected at the moment. A little bit disrespected. I'm going to tell you as to why in a few minutes, but I need to get the stories up in front of me so that I am not misspeaking. So Fabrizio Romano this morning has stated that Chelsea have made a big decision regarding Maignan. What he has said is that they are not going to reactivate talks. So there was a theory that that Chelsea didn't want to pay the Club World Cup tax, and they thought that it was being overpriced by £5 to £10 million. So they stepped away from the deal. There was a train of thought where people believed that what Arsenal would do after the Club World Cup is revisit the situation with Maignan. Revisit it, go back in and start negotiating to drive that price down. Now, as things stand right now, that doesn't appear to be the case, according to Fabrizio Romano. I was going to get his story here, which says that Chelsea have not reactivated Maignan as a goalkeeping option in the recent hours or days and are not planning to do so later in the window. Talks with AC Milan and his agent are off since 12 days ago as Chelsea maintain their confidence in the goalkeepers they have. Now, of course, Fabrizio is one of the most trusted and respected transfer journalists on the planet. So I understand that Chelsea fans will see that and say, that's outrageous. Our goalies are not good enough. We came fourth. We won the Conference League. We qualified for the Champions League. We need better than that. And I absolutely agree with Chelsea fans that they need better than that. It's just absolutely obvious. They need better than the goalkeepers they currently have in their team. However, this is what Simon Phillips has shared. First of all, there was something got put out that says in the last 24 hours, Chelsea have started thinking again about the possibility of a goalkeeper. Chelsea considering are currently considering their options, is what Fabrizio said on his YouTube channel. That's very different to what he's tweeted now, though. So there's a contrast in that. Simon Phillips quote tweeted it. He's a very well-respected journalist and in the know connected to the football club. And he says that Chelsea have never stopped looking to sign a new goalkeeper this summer and hadn't walked away from Maignan. Expect them to try again a bit later in the window, but a goalkeeper has always been one of the priorities this summer, regardless of the media playing it down. Excuse me. So I do feel that some Chelsea fans are listen, and this is what can happen. You might react badly, go, I believe, for Fabrizio, and then Chelsea end up signing no new goalkeepers, and they'll say, see, that was right. But there are other Chelsea sources, there are other Chelsea stories right now that are painting a very different picture, as we just read out, that actually there are other options for Chelsea. They've not given up on Maignan. Yes, the media keeps saying they're happy with their goalkeepers, but just like I mentioned with Onana, just like I mentioned with PSG and Warren Zaire-Emery, Chelsea are going to publicly state that they're happy with their goalkeepers. One, it helps to drive down the price of the potential goalkeepers you're buying, and it helps to maintain the value of your current goalkeepers. So when you're selling them, you can get the best price possible. The worst thing that Chelsea can do, in my humble opinion, is say we're in desperate need of a new goalkeeper. One, that means you don't like the goalies you've got. Your valuations are dropping. Two, it means clubs know you're desperate. They know what you need is become a more finite commodity. They start to push those prices up. So this is where Chelsea fans have got to back their football club and maybe play. I know some people are like, I don't want to play along with the PR, because then if we don't sign a goalkeeper, I'm going to get laughed at and I'm going to look stupid. And, oh my God, I believed the lie. It's not about actually believing it. It's about, this is a sales game. They may end up not landing a goalkeeper, but I don't believe they're lying, Chelsea. I don't believe they're not trying to sign one. I don't believe they tried to sign Maignan, purposely cut it short and said the price was too much to sort of pull the wool over their fans' eyes. Oh, we tried, but we couldn't land it. Darn. I think they are trying to sign a goalie, but they don't want to overpay. He's got to be the right profile. And publicly, they're trying, because they might not sign a goal. Imagine how you'd feel as a goalie at Chelsea if you go into next season as the number one, after the club has spent the whole summer saying we need a new goalkeeper desperately. We're in dire straits without one. What's that going to do for the confidence of the man that's in goal? So there's a little bit here of just, I know we live in a world now where everyone's meant to call out the media. Everybody's meant to say, I'm not a PR puppet. I'm a real man. Oh, you sound like fucking Pinocchio. Oh, I'm a real boy. I'm a real boy. You don't need to do that. It's obvious what's going on here. Chelsea want a new goalkeeper. They know their current ones are not good enough. If they state that publicly, you're going to lose money both ends. And you've got to get out of this ridiculous, childish notion of, it's not my money. Oh, I don't care. You should care because it is your damn money. It really, really is. It really, really is. And Maradona, yes, everyone knows they need a new goalkeeper. People have eyes, but it's not about what you. It's not about what you say publicly. Sometimes it's about what you do. But equally, they've got to save face. They've got to be professional. You know, I can imagine that you're bad at your job that you have, Maradona. I can imagine you're really bad at it, just by the way you talk and message and things you say. Imagine how demotivated you'd be and how worse you'd do at your job if your boss went around the office telling everybody how bad you were and they need somebody new. They're not going to do that. Well, they shouldn't do it. It's bad leadership. You should get it more than anyone, Maradona. You really, really should. Chelsea wash club anyway. Even if they sign Mbappe, Yamal, and Haaland, they will flop. Listen, I think you're being a little harsh there, my friend. Now, Maradona does love me. Maradona, so we worked out the math on this before. So we do the math again now, right? Because it's been longer. 7 years, every stream this guy watches the whole time, okay? Every bit of content he watches. So we, on average, do around, I think it works out 4.5 hours a day. When you, some days we do like 12 hours, well, maybe not that much, like 10 hours of content. Other days we do something. It averages out, but we'll average it down, say 4 hours a day, okay? So you do 4 hours a day. You times that by 365. That's 1,460 hours. Times that by the 7 years, okay? It's over 10,000 hours, okay? You divide that by 24, okay? That's 425 days, which means in the last 7 years, Maradona spent a year of his life trolling me. That's why I love him back. Imagine this is why I don't take it as an offense. I am so important to Maradona's life. He's dedicated, since he found me, a year of it solely to me. Solely to me. Legend, bruv. Legend. Legend. I think he loves me more than my kids. Love it. It does revolve around the terrace. He probably gets, like, Christmas Day is the only day we don't stream. He must struggle, man. So you're not taking any vacations? I've never really taken vacations in my life. Even when I worked in the bank and I used to get a very good deal. I used to get 8 weeks holiday. It's no liar, 7 weeks holiday a year. Barely took them. I don't find it quite relaxing just sitting around doing nothing. I have to be busy. So what will happen is days like yesterday, I took my son football, when I got breakfast, did an hour stream, loved being with you guys. Then I went out, had my car wash, friends came around. Oh, I made the best ribs yesterday. Like 4 or 5 ribs, put them in the smoker. Friends came around, a few drinks. We ate food. We got in the pool. Just had a great night until around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Then I went to bed. That for me is fine. That's all I need, you know? So do that a couple of times a month. I'm an happy boy. Simple as that. Anyway, let's move on. We're going to take your calls. I want to know what you think. I want to know what you feel in relation to these stories that have come out today, people. There was another one as well. This is the other story as well that was out today. It was around Semenyo. It said that Semenyo is wanted by Tottenham, but the price is too high. I did see this and think to myself, come on, Spurs. You can't be piss fighting about this much. You got to start moving forward. There is rumours that Man United find he's asking price too high as well, which I don't believe any of this. I do believe it, and I don't. What I mean by that is I believe that Bournemouth are going to push. They won't let him go cheap, but they're demanding around 60 million. And the thing is, I probably think he's worth somewhere close to that amount. So whether Tottenham or not get it done for a lesser price, we will see. But I want your views and I want your opinions on that in our comments section below. What we're going to do now is share the link in the live chat for you all to get involved with. Just bear with me a second while I open it up and get it out. Excuse me. So warm in this building, I tell you. Here we go. Right, let me just paste the link into my Word doc. Sorry, peeps. All right, let's pause that. Let me put it into the live chat. There we go. It's in the live chat now. So if you guys want to phone in, have your say on these transfer stories today, I would love to hear from you all. Do some more of your comments, because the comments are the best bit. Maradon call in. He never will. He never will. He never will. Spurs want Semenyo. Hopefully they will push for him, not in Burmo. They won't push for him Burmo unless Man United walk away from that deal. I've never really been too concerned or too worried about that personally. Also want to go to the driving range. Yeah, listen, even if do you know what's great about Caddy Comps? You know, you can win some really good stuff, even if you don't want to play golf and just go. I've got friends that don't play golf, but they go to the golf range. They find going to a golf range for a few hours, hitting the balls, a bit like bowling, I suppose. A few drinks with their friends, a bit of a laugh. It can be a really fun little day out. Really fun day out. I'm just trying to take up a few more pastimes now to relax with. So, sorry, I was reading the comment there. That I'm trying to play a bit of golf. I want to get back into a bit of fishing as well if I can. I really do. I was in the police for over 30 years. The only time I was off was when I had my children were born. Big up yourself, Linda. Tough job, that. Tough job. Liverpool have a buyback clause for Kwanzaa. Thoughts? Well, clever. Very clever, because if he goes away and then develops, then they'll be able to buy him back at a cheaper rate. Very, very clever. Best content out there, smashing it. Thanks, Carl. I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that a lot. We try. Today we're trying though. Today is warm in here, I'm telling you. Excuse me. Rodrigo wants to get paid at least 10 million euros. Pay it. Pay it. Do you know what funny about Arsenal's links to Rodrigo? It went from no chance of getting him to now rival fans are talking about how actually it's not a good deal. It's not a good player. I love it. I love watching fans do that. It's absolutely beautiful. Terry, with the Kwanzaa deal being finalized today for Liverpool, is being reported they will try and sign Marc Guehi. What do you feel about that potential signing? Excellent signing. England's best player, defender, everything at the Euros last year. What I do find funny is that if they can't get a deal done, so if the money's too high, Liverpool, along with Guehi, are prepared to wait until next summer when he's free. And I pissed myself laughing when I read that. I just thought the bloody irony. Imagine the irony in that. Imagine Liverpool next year wait for him to be available for free. I'd cry. I'd just cry. It is because it isn't. This isn't directed at Liverpool fans as it's only them. That is football fans in a nutshell. It's football fans in a nutshell. Leaving on a free is disgraceful. Or we can sign Guehi for free. Just do it. Football fans are always like that. The way Van Dijk got out of Southampton, if a Liverpool player did that, they want to string him up. But we're all like that. You know, if Gyökeres, we're not going to probably get him. He's linked to Arsenal. Let's think of a good player we want. Let's say we wanted Belieber, and Belieber forced his way out of Brighton. United fans would all celebrate. But if one of our players did that, we'd go after him. We all do it. We all do it. We're very fickle when it comes to football in that way. Right, we're going to take a few of your calls. If you haven't phoned in yet, the link is being posted into the group chat. But Albert is coming on with me this morning, or this afternoon, nearly the afternoon now. Albert, welcome to the terrace. Thank you for calling in. Let everyone know who you support, mate.
I'm an Arsenal supporter. The Gunners. Always from Kenya.
Thank you very much for calling in. I appreciate it. What are you here to say?
The thing is, we've been having a lot of emotional outbursts about how this particular transfer window is going. I have to tell you, for me, it really began in January, when at about halfway through January, I was like, we are not really going to sign a striker, are we? Because for the last 5 years, Arteta has solidified the team. The discipline is back. The passion is back. We are fighting for the top trophies everywhere. But then there just seemed to be this hesitation to make the proper move, like we did with Rice. January, we didn't sign the striker, and I knew we were not going to win the league, because at the beginning of the season, I was like, we are winning this. After the 2-3 years, I was like, this is ours now. But then by January, my heart was broken. So when it comes to this particular window, I want to be pragmatic. I know that's how Arsenal does things, but it's starting because the champion has made the moves. They are the champions, and they've made the moves, and we are still pussyfooting around this issue. Like we've known exactly what we've needed in this team. I'm just get the frustration is like we are a big team. We've always been a big team, but we behave in such, except for the when we did Rice and what, we are not behaving the correct way. It still feels like, oh, we are looking at this one, looking at this one, looking at this one, looking at this one. Then in the end, we'll just sign someone because people are angry. And it has that feeling. I hope not, but it does have that feeling. It's a bit frustrating, to be honest with you.
No, I absolutely agree. Sorry, I wasn't distracted. It's just I've got a fan on in here keeping it cold that I put on full blast when people are talking because I can mute my mic. I get the frustration. I hear a lot of what you said there. You know, you started early. I think what's probably not helped the frustration is the speed of execution of getting Zubimendi made official, because it was kind of a January deal. Well, you got the deal done for the summer in the January. So I understand the frustrations there. Maybe it's because I view things differently, even for my own club. I do look at speed of execution and when players come in. Are they ready for pre-season? Are they ready for the start of the campaign? That's important. But it's always key to assess transfer windows when they close. And I've learned that so much since making this kind of content is one, we can all do this thing of this team. I remember last summer, people said that West Ham pound for pound won the transfer window. Look how their season went as an example. And that's why I think you're right to want more. You're right to demand more. At the same time, I think it can be tempered with a little bit of, well, let's wait and see what actually happens, who you actually sign. Do you have them in time for? And it's funny because I'm going to an event this afternoon near where I live. It's like this big street water fight thing. And it's the same date. It's the same Sunday of June every single year. And I remember releasing a Lautaro Martinez Arsenal and Man United video on that day, like 3 or 4 years ago, because I remember where I was when I had to release it. So it's very normal at this stage of the season for like the transfer window, for most deals not to be done. I think there's frustrations a little bit of Liverpool getting theirs done early. As long as yours are not all coming in when the season's kicked off and you've got them in from the early stages of pre-season, it's not really going to matter whether they were signed on the 1st of June or the 30th of June. Does that make sense? But I get the pressure you guys are under. You've come second 3 years running. Liverpool won the league. They're executing their business very quickly. So there's this element of, right, you know, they're ahead of us already. They've signed players and we haven't. We've got to get moving. I do get the frustration. When it comes to the striker situation, how do you think that's going to go? What do you see Arsenal? Who do you see Arsenal picking as the main guy for next year?
My preference is Gyökeres. Is tried and tested and is not wanting. Sesko is raw. To be honest with you, if they sign either of them, I'll be happy. But I lean towards Gyökeres because he's spectacular. I think that's everybody, and this is the time really we can't do the young upcoming anymore. Right now, we just need the killers that are ready to send out to the pitch. We can't continue with this little or this and that, or they are great, they'll be great. Because we have many of those. We have Skelly, we have Nwaneri, there are so many young players. Right now, we just need that 27, 20-year-old, 28-year-old who's just a killer, whatever position. Because in my opinion, the time to build and have a solid plan, way to play, attitude is done. Right now, you just know, okay, we don't have a striker. Get that guy who scored almost 100 goals in 100 matches. Yes, it's the Portuguese league, but I honestly don't think. I think even if we are to get just an average striker in the team right now, he'll do well because the team is solid, the play is solid, everything is solid, but the pieces are missing. We just need a Gyökeres there. I personally prefer him. I wouldn't be totally butthurt if they got Sesko, but I think we are not managers. Yes, they know things we don't, but in this case, I don't think they know something we don't. He's just a guy, but I think because of all the noise and the agents and the whatnot and the owners of whatever, it's just taking long. And
I hear that. I hear that. I hear what you're saying there. I wanted to ask you as well about Warren Zaire-Emery. Your link today supposedly made contact with PSG. Another story saying you've made links to the camp. If Partey leaves, is that the kind of standard you want to see Arsenal go for? A player like Zaire-Emery? Is that what you expect to see?
Absolutely. Of course, we've seen him play. We know what he's all about. I think he'll be a very good replacement for Partey, although I have to be honest, I have a soft spot for Partey. That guy has really, like this last season, I think is when he went most of the season without an injury and he was just top form. I think he could have given us one more really good season while you look for someone else who's more solid. Because we have Zubamendi kind of fixed. If you have both of them and Rice, that's watertight. I am not sad that Emery is coming, if he is coming, or at least we attach to him if Partey leaves. But to be honest with you, Partey, I prefer Partey right now. I'd rather we have Partey so that it doesn't matter what game it doesn't.
Would you give, if you were in charge at Arsenal, would you give Partey the pay rise that he's asking for?
Yes. Unless it's 300,000, then maybe not. But
I hear you there, Albert. Listen, mate, great call. I appreciate you coming on. Really good words spoken there, my friend. And we'll chat again soon. Cheers, mate. Top man indeed. Thank you, Albert, for calling in to the show. Partey must leave. He is always absent when we need him the most, is what Josek says here. As an Arsenal fan, what's frustrating is we needed a striker 2 seasons ago. I'll even be happy with a Mateta at this point, and he's a natural number 9. Look, I get you needed it a couple of years ago, or it ended up being the case. I want to ask you a question specifically, Jesse. If you sign a very good number 9 this summer, do you forgive and forget? And I'm not asking this just you as an Arsenal fan. I see this with United fans as well that hate the way we're being run. I always wonder, what would it take for the past to be forgotten? Previous mistakes to be forgotten? And the reason I ask that, this isn't specific to Arsenal. I think it's a wider situation. I remember when I was younger, I was in a relationship. And like all of us, you make mistakes. You say things you shouldn't. You upset people, they upset you. And I remember every time we got into a bit of a row, she would say to me, she'd bring up a transgression from like 3 years prior. Listen, we spoke about that and I admitted I was wrong. You accepted my apology with 2-3 years down the line. Why does it keep coming back up? It got to a point where I said, I'm walking away. Because I was young at the time, I wasn't married or anything, didn't own a house together or anything like that. But I said, I'm just walking away. I said, because you have to, for me, and this is maybe why I view things differently, there are certain things that can be done where I say, you know what? I'll forgive and I'll forget. But when I forgive and forget, I totally move on from it. The only time I'd ever bring, like in footballing context, I'd bring it up is when you're trying to, maybe you're talking about another club and its growth and you can use it as a case in point to look at. But when is that cutoff point? So, for instance, if, and Maradon just says accountability, but again, what does accountability mean? So what does it, when do you forgive it? And I'm just asking that in question. Like, and this should apply to Arsenal fans. And he says here, nope, because we'll just do it with the next position. And what worries me about this view is that you're never going to be happy. Because if every time you do address a problem, so every time your club does address a problem, if you're like, well, I'm going to stay angry because I only do it again in future, that's where I get to a point where I think this ain't about football. This is when I get to a point where I think you're angry at something else, but you're taking it out through the guise of football. Because if you go and address the striker problem now, and you go and get Gyökeres and he kills it, but you're like, I still hate the club because they might do what they did with the striker to another position in future, so I'm going to stay angry. I'm thinking to myself, how are you even enjoying football? For me, football has always been a way of getting away from any problems I have in my life, as opposed to amplifying it. So I'm not saying you're wrong. And Jesse, you are entitled to do things however you want to in this world. I'm just trying to understand like what would need to be done for you to, and I'm not talking like, you know, have a bad game, you can criticize it, but what would have to happen for you to be in a good disposition with your club where even mistakes are made, you can go, that's annoying, but I respect them, they'll fix it, I'm in a good mood, I love my club. What would it actually take? And this can apply to Arsenal, Chelsea, detail it. Tell us what that looks like. I'd love to know what the ideal world looks like, because nothing's perfect, by the way. Your football club will never be perfect. Your wife, your husband will never be perfect. Your children will never be perfect. They're always going to do things that upset you. But I don't think you can go through life living in a constant state of anger. And Matt, like, apply that logic to everything else in life. Imagine your boss says to you, you messed up once and I'm fuming and I'm going to stay angry at you forever because at some point you're probably going to make a mistake again. So I'm never going to be nice to you. Just apply that logic through life in every direction. That's why I don't get it. Again, not saying you're wrong. Maybe you're right and I need to understand it. So help me. Could you forgive the Glazers? It would take a lot, though, because that's 20 odd years of malpractice. But if they paid all the debts off, if they started pumping billions of pounds of their own money into the football club for the next 20 years, if they started giving money to build up Manchester themselves, so they would have to counterbalance that massively because of how heavily weighted it is, right? The counterbalance has got to be gargantuan, absolutely gargantuan for a long period of time because the counterbalance is high, right? But not signing a striker for 2 years and then signing one of the best strikers in the world, like a couple of years later, I feel like that's a counterbalance. Does that make sense? So yeah, it would take a lot for that, and I don't think they're going to do it. But there's the potential to forgive them. Yes, of course there is. There always has to be in life the potential to forgive. If they paid the debts off, if they made us a powerhouse again, if they invested in the local area, if they invested billions of pounds of their own money into the club, and this went on for many years, then yeah, you could. I think you could in 25 years' time. I could potentially look at it and go, do you know what? Hated them at first, but they addressed it. They behaved how I wanted. They've done it for a long time. Fair play to you. Yeah, I probably could. But the counterbalance has got to be there. Of course. He said, we can't test the theory. We'd have to wait and see. But again, if United make a mistake and then we address the mistake and it works, I forgive the mistake. But it's got to be a counterbalance, you know? It's got to be a counterbalance. Can't be heavily weighted in one way still. Come on, chat. Hit the like, subscribe, and chill. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that a lot. And no one really said too much around. No one in the comments has yet wrote what it would take to forgive their club. Very interesting. I also don't think a lot of people want to say what it would take to forgive their club because then they might be held to account on it. We get that a lot now. You hear that a lot when someone says, you say to someone, who would you like to be the replacement midfielder? Well, why have I got to tell you that? Or why not? Or what does your manager have to do to make you back him? Well, why am I going to tell you that? Well, because we want to see whether you're going to kick the... But be honest with you, we're at a point now where we used to just want to know what it was. Now it's like, I'm more intrigued why you won't answer it. Agenda. For United, I don't think the past could be forgiven or forgot for the Glazers, even if they paid all the money they have taken out and paid the debt off. Yeah, Emily, I wouldn't forgive them just for paying the debts off because they did them in the first place. Like my suggestion would be debts paid off every year, pumping in the maximum they can to the club, developing the local area, developing the infrastructure, employing people, massive work for charity, and maintaining it. There is the potential, but this is what I mean by counterbalances, Emily. It would take a long time. People do that in society. And we know this works. Now, on a personal level, if somebody commits a crime against an individual, a heinous crime, either against them or their family, very hard to forgive, but some people do. They find it cathartic to do it, actually. But let's just say someone lives in your local area and they rob people and they're a burglar. And they've burgled 20 houses. Everybody hates them in the community. They get arrested at 18, go to prison, come out. Everybody despises them because they're a criminal. That person spends the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years helping the community, working hard, not breaking the law, being a good citizen. I've witnessed these things because of the areas I grew up in. That person gains respect back. People go, wow, that change of character makes people trust them again. And in fact, when someone's been bad and they've turned good and have maintained it, sometimes they get a higher level of respect than people that have always been good, because it's hard to turn your life around. So I do believe that most things in life, there are some very heinous, disgusting things that people can do that you would never forgive them for. But in the longer term, you always can. I mean, nobody hates the Italians because of what the Romans did. Do you get where I'm coming from? When enough time has passed and those actions haven't been done again, or they've been counterbalanced and it's been done over a long period of time, of course, you can move on from things. So that was a very flippant, exaggerated example, but you get my point. So everything is forgivable. I just don't think, but we're talking football here on a much shorter scale. A club not signing a striker for 2 years. I respect the guy's view, but I'm going to stay angry because we might do it again in the future. I just think, well, you're never going to be happy. That's your choice. That's your life. But yeah, I'd look for a different route myself. We have a super chat here that says, there is nothing like Mike Ashley could ever do to make us fans forgive him for what he did to Newcastle. I hear you, but if he was still your owner and he started running you how the new owners are and started pumping money in, built you a new stadium, bought you the best players he could every year, behaved better, built the local community up with building houses and shopping malls and creating jobs, giving to charities, and he maintained this for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, you might be able to forgive him. The problem you've got there, Graham, is what he did was so horrible, the counterbalance would have to be so massive over such a long period of time. Because he's not going to do that, though. And this is the thing about the Glazer example. We know the Glazers aren't doing that. We know that scumbag Mike Ashley isn't going to do it. So in your head, you're like, well, I'm never going to forgive him. That's because you're living in the reality of, well, he's not going to do the things I need. But I bet there are things that if he actually did over the course of time, you'd end up saying, you know what? He saw the error of his ways and he put things right, and there'd be respect there. But these are massive examples that are not going to happen. In football, your club can have a bad summer and then rectify it in the January. For me, I don't stay angry at the club forever because of one mistake. I just personally couldn't do it. But I hear you, Graham. I get where you're coming from. And listen, you as an individual might say nothing can ever be done. And I respect the way you view that, my friend. I do. People just love to moan, Terry, just so they can say they were right. They get too caught up in the agendas. Well, that's really funny, Sean. Someone's come on the show yesterday and said, Arsenal, I think it was Jason, never had a brilliant window in my whole life. And I think, well, there's something in that, isn't there? That's maybe your club is buying it where it is. That's your club. Like Leyton Orient have never had a perfect window because they've only ever been a League One and a League Two team in my brother's life. It's just that's where you are. But equally, if you know that's how your club's operated forever, 30, 40, 50 years of your life, saying we're only going to have a summer of this level, it's almost like you're predicting the sun to rise. Like, yeah, it's just what you do, right? That's the club you choose to love. That's you guys. I don't know. It's such an interesting thing. Equally, people are allowed to be frustrated, and I understand that. But this is where I think it becomes a conflict. I think some people are annoyed and saying, "I love this club. We always had a decent window, but I want a great window." I get that. I also agree with you. There are some people, they set the standard up here, like was said earlier by Carl. The standards are up here that are almost unachievable. They know the club only operates around this level. They moan about it not being at the high level just so they can say they were right, but they're not really right. They're just predicting the sun to rise. And there's some grifters within that as well. But again, what I will reiterate, because there'll be some people that will be reacting to this online. I'm not saying you shouldn't have high standards or you shouldn't want more from your club. I'm just challenging the motives of certain individuals that do it. I think, Sean, I think you're right there. Listen, I love the facts. Amuses me when people want to prove their point, so they go to extreme comparisons. Yeah, I've seen a few in the comments. Terry, would you forgive somebody who did X to your kids? No, probably not personally. Probably not personally, no. And there always are anomalies. But we are talking football here. We're talking something nowhere near as serious as my children. But yeah, it's like earlier, we said it. Arsenal linked to Zaire Emery. The Arsenal fans that want high standards will say, that's just stupid, we ain't getting him. Yeah, if they were linked to a player at a mid-table club, they say, that's a fucking disgrace. Well, what do you want then? Do you want to try and get the best players, or do you want to get the mid players? Which is it? Certain people can't make their minds up about what they want, but there we go. Listen, I want to thank you all for tuning in. I really do appreciate it, loads. We're back later this afternoon. I'll be out later. So there's breaking news. I might not be live for it, but I don't have any breaking news coming. We're live later on this afternoon, which will be great. I'm just checking one little thing here on WhatsApp. So a message, and this person sometimes has updates. Nope, no updates at all. Lovely. Listen, just asking how I was. Listen, everyone, thank you. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I will see you all again very, very soon. Shout out to Caddy Comps. Go check out Caddy Comps right now. Win yourself some brilliant golf gear. We'll put it up on the screen so you can see it here. A brilliant website. As little as 79p to enter, giving away all types of woods and drivers, pitchers. They're also giving away a Range Rover as well. They have daily draws every single day. Sign up now by scanning the QR code or clicking on the link below. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. See you soon. Peace.